How to get raving referrals and generate real customers for your business with today's special guest, Brandon Barnum.
Today's episode is brought to you by Descript. Every book, podcast, and YouTube video that I publish is transcribed by Descript. I've used all of the competitors and nobody comes close to their quality. And the price is the lowest in the business as well. If you want to speed up production and grow your online business, go to servemaster.com/Descript right now.
Are you tired of dealing with your boss? Do you feel underpaid and underappreciated? If you want to make it online, fire your boss, and start living your retirement dreams now, then you come to the right place. Welcome to the Artificial Intelligence Podcast Show, where you will learn how to use artificial intelligence to open new revenue streams and make money while you sleep. Presented live from a tropical island in the South Pacific by best-selling author Jonathan Green. Now, here's your host. Now, this is a topic near and dear to my heart because I know how much people hate asking for referrals. It's like the thing that people hate asking for the most. And it's very interesting that's the centerpiece of your business because everyone I know who talks about referrals is very successful. You never hear someone who's like, oh, my business is terrible, but I teach referrals. So what I'm most interested in is that you have this journey that is one people don't talk about. So a lot of people talk about single moms and work from home moms, and very rarely do people talk about work from home dads and single dads. And that's very near and dear to my heart because even though I'm not a single dad, I'm a work from home dad. And whenever I get invited to an event, they're like, oh, we have a work from home moms conference. Do you want to speak at it? I'm like, well, where's the work from home dads conference? So I'd love to know a little bit about how your journey started and kind of mixing, balancing being there for all those events for your kid, for your family, but also, you have to build a business. It creates that fire underneath you. So tell me how your journey started and really where your motivation came from.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. Appreciate you having me. Yeah, so, for me, it really started because I was a single dad. I got custody of my son when he was 2 back in 1994. And at the time, I was only making 20 grand a year. I was working as a marketing director for an estate planning law firm. And all of a sudden, I was responsible for this human being that I had to pay for, feed, and all the rest. And all of a sudden, I couldn't pay for daycare as well as the mortgage. I'd bought a house. I had some roommates helping cover the cost, but I couldn't cover both. And I started bouncing my mortgage checks. I'm like, okay, I got to make a change. So I ended up getting in the mortgage business. And thankfully, I had somebody that taught me the art and science of what I now call raving referrals. And it 10x'd my income over 18 months from 20 grand to 200,000 a year. So it was really that motivation because, like you say, being a single dad, for a while, I had to just bring my son home after I left that position. I had to work from home with a, 2-year-old, 3-year-old there by my side. And it's tough. So I've been there. You're right. I don't meet a lot of single dads or guys that have gone down that path. And I don't think about it because you just do what's called of you. But it definitely was a challenge and it led me to where I am now.
I think that's just something that's a difference maybe between how dads and moms talk about it is that the reason I record at night, right? It's night here, and people are like, oh, why do you shoot videos at night? I'm like, because that's when the kids don't kick in the door. Like right. Even yesterday, I was shooting, and my daughter came in. She's not 3 yet; she's just under 3, and she comes in at 1 speed, full speed,
right?
And blasted behind me. Was like trying to turn the TV on and watch like Barbie, and I was like, you came. Like, I'm recording a video. I love. But the thing is, I never lock the door. My wife's like, why don't you lock the door? Because I never want the kids to be locked out. Like I never want to create that. So it's always this balance. You just kind of accept it. But it is this thing for me. I kind of went through a period of lower motivation in my business. And then when I started having kids, it really lit this fire under me because my wife doesn't work. I got to deliver. The first phase is like I got to pay all the bills. Now, like there's always a doctor bill or an emergency or the school. Something's always happening. And then beyond that is then you get to that phase where like, well, is there enough in case something happens to me? Right? Even if there's enough for now, but is there enough for 6 months, 2 years, 20 years from now? And you start to get these motivations, and there's a certain type of person that will do whatever it takes. And that's something that is how you know someone's going to be a great entrepreneur. I recently was talking to someone, they were talking about like building an online type of business. I was like, well, actually, there's a business you can build to test to see if you're meant for this, which is you can go to every Goodwill in town and scan everything with the Amazon app to see if there's a price disparity. There's an opportunity there. And she was like, well, I don't have the time to do that. And I was like, yeah, then this is not the right thing for you because I've had to do things that I didn't want to do. Right. It's like sometimes you have to do what you don't want to do because Like every day, my kids want food. Like every single day, they want food. Every day, they want to wear clothes. Every day, they want to have a roof over the house. You don't get to have like those little breaks. Like when you're working for yourself, you can have a ramen week, but not when you have kids. And there is this entrepreneur gene that not everyone has. Maybe 1 in 10 people have this desire to be in the arena, to do the trapeze without a net. So it's much scarier when you have a second person on the journey with us. But I would love to hear really about your approach to referrals, because most people either think it's really offensive to ask for a referral, or they try to do a lot of robotics with it. Like you try to make it automated. So I want to ask for referrals in a non-human way. Like I want it to be an automated email that's an automated video, and it kind of creates this reverse effect. Like here's something people do to me is they'll send me a video that I can tell they've sent to a lot of other people because it's a Vimeo link and I can see when the video is from and how many views it has. And if they don't say my name at the beginning, it really makes me mad. Actually, it really is one of those things that flips my switch, because I'm like, you told me it was a personal video, but it's not. Don't do that. And actually, I have had one person send me an actual personal video that was a personal video. I was surprised because he said my name at the beginning and he was talking to me specifically. And like, it was like, and that's a good memory because it's so rare for people to do that. So I feel like technology is actually making people worse. So I kind of love your take on that, because you've been doing this for a very long time and it's a really big question. So just dive in however you feel right.
Well, there's three things that you said that I want to touch on. Number one, video. Video is fantastic, but you're right. Personalize it, customize it. It doesn't take long. I teach people all the time. Like one of the things that we teach is the appreciation exercise, to just follow up with and reignite the relationships you've had in the past. And you can record a quick 30-second video on your phone, text it to them, and it's done. It doesn't take a lot of time. But let's talk about automating the ask. And then let's talk about the art of the ask, which is how to feel comfortable and how to help others feel comfortable.
Wait, I want to dial into what you said because it's so important.
Okay.
Especially for guys. This is something different about the men's world, is that most men receive between 0 and 1 compliments per year. Like we get said, and because I went through a near-death experience recently and I've started trying to like say nice things to everyone. And there's like, just, you know, it makes you, and how long will it last? I don't know. Usually like you're nicer for a few months and you go back to who you are. But people really, especially men, women get, like my wife gets way more compliments than me, right? Like when is the last time someone bought you a drink, right? Like it's so rare for a man. People are like, how do you become friends with a billionaire? I'm like, oh, do anything you would do for a pretty lady. And they're shocked because it's like, no one ever buys them a drink. No one ever says something nice that's not about their money. And no one ever says anything meaningful. So just that one thing is like, just if you said to someone like, oh, you paid me $50,000 for a project, thought it was really cool to work together, thanks. Most guys are like, whoa, because the barrier for compliments for us is so low because it's so rare. Whereas women get told they're beautiful all the time. And so they start to get used to it. It loses its specialness.
Right.
But I had this friend, and I'll never forget this. She was a Formula One model. And we're out one night in London. She goes, that guy just bought me a drink. Can you believe people are so nice here? And I was like, whoa, that's what everyone wishes it was like when you buy a lady a drink. She was like, I had to talk to him for 30 minutes because he bought me a drink. How nice is that? And I was like, I said 3 more months in London, that's going to go away. But it was like, that's how men do react to compliments because we get them so rarely. So I love that you said that. I know I cut you off, but it was like such an important thing that we sometimes slide, which is like, Jonathan, it's really so powerful because it's so rare. Most of the time, we want to create this aloof persona, and then we're so tough that we're never nice to each other. So I really love that you said that it doesn't have to be a 30-minute thing. A 30-second video, also, it's better. Like when I get a video and it says like 27 minutes, I go, oh, I'm watching this later. It's too long. 30 seconds is nice and tight. Do it from your phone. I love it. What's the next step? You were talking about automation, some of the problems with that.
Well, let's go and let's actually do the appreciation exercise right now with your audience, okay? And then we'll come back to automating the ask and the art of the ask. So here's the appreciation exercise. It literally is a matter of looking at the contacts in your phone, thinking about who haven't you connected with in a while that you want to stimulate a relationship with and start doing more business with if you want to make it professional. Although, like you said, you can just keep it personal. So whether you want to apply this to your personal life, to maybe some friends you haven't talked to in a long time, or into your professional life, it goes like this. Look in your phone. Look in your contacts. Make a list of 5 to 10 people that you should be reaching out to that you know you haven't for a long time, you want to reconnect with. And just do this. Say this. Someone was just asking me who I appreciate, and I thought of you. It can be as simple as that. It'll stimulate a conversation. Now, if you have something more specific you want to send to them, then do it, right? Somebody was just asking me who I respect most, and you came to mind. You were at the top of my list, right? Or I just wanted to let you know that I'm thinking about you and I'd love to reconnect. Anything like that is just an expression of appreciation, to your point, right? A lot of people don't receive that. And when you start with the give of, I was thinking about you and you're somebody I care about and I'd like to connect with, then they're going to respond and now you're back in relationship.
There's this part of us that's like afraid that it will sound like a pitch, right? That's like, oh, they're gonna think I want to sell them something, right? And it stops us because we get so caught up in the, and this is important. We get so caught up in the what are they going to respond to that because we've forgotten how to compliment. So now most of the time we say something nice to someone. Here's what you say. You say, "Wow, you look nice today," and then you go like this. Like your hands on your ear waiting for them to say something nice back to you, and it's like, well, that's not a compliment, that's like a trap, right? It's like an obligation. You
Right.
give them something, and it took me a long time in my single days to learn that you don't leave that window there because that's an uncomfortable window, uh,
Yeah.
especially if you're a regular. I'm an average looking guy, so I don't want to leave the opportunity for someone to tell me I have nice eyes, because I know what that means. It means everything else is terrible. So very important to let go of their response. It doesn't matter. I learned this lesson when I was a kid. My parents bought my sister a car, or they gave her their old car, and then she sold it because she wanted the money. And I was like, whoa. But my parents were like, they had to learn a lesson. A gift is a gift. If you really give it to someone, they're going to do whatever they need to do with it. And it
That's
made
right.
sense. She was living in New York where you don't need a car, right? So
Right.
it's sometimes we get so caught up, like when we give a gift and we want them to open it in front of us and we want to see them use it, like, don't you love using that blender? Like, yeah, I love my seventh blender, right? We forget what a gift really is, which is a gift is you can do whatever you want with it, and I'm not going to be tied to how you treat it. It's about me, the act of giving. So I really love what you're saying, which is an opportunity to just give appreciation and not worry about how they respond. Like if someone misinterprets, which I've had happen, I've had sometimes people really misinterpret something I said, and you can't control that. You have to kind of disconnect from that, because 99% of people or 98% of people are going to be like, wow, no one ever says anything nice to me, and it's everything's warm. I really love your structure because it kind of removes most of that. And the next message will be my pitch, and the next message will be to let you know I joined an MLM recently, because that's what we're all afraid of hearing in the second message.
Sure.
Like that's
Sure.
what I'm afraid of. It's like, oh no, what did you join? What's worse, an MLM or a cult? But I love that you have that structure, and we just send it out there without the worry of their response, because that's not the important part. The important part is just saying the thing of a kindness.
Yeah, and Jonathan, I'd say that a lot of people are too concerned about what other people are thinking. Like literally just give to give. Share appreciation because you appreciate them with no agenda. Now, if you end up starting a conversation and it leads to a meeting or a connection and you want to develop business out of it, fantastic, right? But literally, you have to have no attachment to the outcome. Your only objective here is to share the love, is to give, is to raise the vibe. And when you do that, what you're going to find is you're going to rekindle some relationships that maybe you haven't talked to in a while. One of the things that we teach at HOA.com and through my Raving Referrals book is the Referral Partner Blueprint. And this is all about partnering with people who already serve your ideal clients and are in complementary businesses, right? So how do we build relationships and partnerships with others that are already serving your clients, where you can be the answer to the challenge their clients and customers face?
So there's this mindset that's kind of an older mindset, which is you eat what you kill. That when you're in, like, it's a very aggressive. We talk about every name for like a customer is like a different type of animal. Like I caught a buffalo or a whale or a big fish. Like, and there's this feeling, and this is something I dealt with in my business, that every single other author is my enemy. That someone is either reading my book or not reading my book. And it took me a long time to realize, and your background's a great example of that, is most people read more than one business book. Like, you very rarely meet the person that goes, I read one business book and it had everything I needed to know, and I'm not going to ever read another one. But I used to think that way because we are trained to be very competitive and to see everyone as a competitor, and to think, oh, if someone gets introduced to my audience, they could take my audience, right? They could be cooler than me or better than me. And part of it is like, we've all had that experience in high school where someone's cooler than you, but this is not, real life isn't like that. Real life isn't high school, right? But we sometimes have these older fears that if I kind of do this thing, it's risky for me. We're so worried about that, or seeing other people as competitors. It took me a really long time. I wish it hadn't taken me so long to realize that most of my competitors are the people that make the best friends because they know how I feel. They know what it's like. And it's like, wow, we've locked out the only people, because where I live in a small island in the middle of nowhere. Nobody understands what I do. Nobody has even the slightest understanding of the things you go through. Like, as entrepreneurs, not to go down a sidetrack, we deal with specific issues. Like, when you work home alone, you're alone all the time, which opens the door to depression. Entrepreneurial depression is very common because you're like, well, I have no one to talk to. Something. It's the same thing that happens to a lot of women when they have their first kid. They're at home. That's why they start to get really freaked out, because I'm used to having adults to talk to all night, and that's gone. So the only people who are really going to understand how you feel are the people who do what you do, or who are in very close industries. So overcoming that fear, or that like barrier, can be a really big opportunity, because most people go to more than one business. Most people read more than one book. Most people have more than one problem. So I love starting to think about the people who we're so busy thinking of as enemies, starting to think of them, oh, these could actually be the people that would be the best allies for me and have the best audience. And it's not my audience or their audience. We can both serve them in different ways, because there's no business where every single person who walks in the door becomes a customer. Like, oh, I have a 100% conversion rate of lead to customer. And it's like, no, right? It's maybe 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10. The other 8 people still need the help. Maybe I'm just not the right fit.
Yeah, and you should be looking at how do you serve those people, right? How do you really help them get what they need? If it's not through your services, maybe it's through others that you can partner with. And I love that you help people get into affiliate programs, for example, right? I have a dental consulting company in addition to HOA.com. And one of the things that we do is we have a strategic solutions business unit. And all we do there is partner with other companies that serve the dental industry. And when we bring on a prospect or a client, we're looking at ways to solve their problems, period, end of story, right? And we don't do everything. We do coaching and consulting. So we bring in experts that do the financial, the compliance, the software management, all of the other stuff. And by partnering with them, we have partners that serve 70,000 dentists, 100,000 dentists. And my mentor taught me 1 + 1 = 11. Right? The power of partnerships, when you really work at adding as much value as possible to the same perfect prospect and you work together to accomplish it, everyone wins.
Okay, so we kind of have the first step of the process, which is to look for people that their audience and your audience would make sense kind of mingling. There's a lot of crossover. You have a good Venn diagram. What's the second step or next step in the process?
Well, we started talking about automating the ask and the art of the ask. So let's talk about automating the ask. Now, you mentioned some digital things. We absolutely believe that you should be integrating a request for referrals into your invoices, your email signature, right? Whether it says the best gift you can give me is a referral. One of the things that we teach people is to really integrate that into your conversation. We'll teach the art of the ask in just a second. But in automating the ask, if you have a physical, brick and mortar business, then you can create like a referral kit, like this one that we did here, right? Let me see. There we go. And this way, you've literally got something to give to your clients, your patients, your guests when they come into your place of business, so they can pass it on to other people, so that they can literally share the gift of you to the people that they're serving. That's automating the ask. Put that in a place where everyone can see, and make sure that every prospect and client and customer that comes through your sales funnel receives that information and knows that either you love and appreciate referrals or that there's an incentive. Some people actually create an affiliate program, And that's, we call it referral rewards on our end. How do you turn your happy clients and customers into brand ambassadors for your business? Well, you can incentivize them and actually pay them a portion of the revenue or a bounty. And then you can also give them free services, free gifts, whatever it is that you provide. So that's automating the ask. Make sure that you have that built into your system, because Ivan Meisner, who started BNI, says 98% of businesses rely on referrals, yet only 3% have a system in place. So put a system in place and it'll increase your referrals.
I think that's a really big deal because all of my ghostwriting clients come through referral, and I don't tell anyone. You can go to my website. It doesn't tell you I'm a ghostwriter. There's no information. The starting email is always, hey, I heard you do ghostwriting, or do you still ghostwrite? That's the first email. Is like, do you even do this service? Because I keep the gate that high. I'm like, yeah, I just have so many referrals coming in because I'm so good at it, which is obviously not the best strategy, right? But it is that thing where you want to think so much about delivering the service, but you forget to ask for it. But if people have a great experience, they're going to share it, right? Because they're going to ask, like, oh, do you know someone who does X? And if you're the only one they know, then that's when it comes up. But sometimes people do think, oh, I don't want to like bother that person, right? I don't want to send them a referral because they might be annoyed. There's a lot of people to think a referral will annoy you. So you definitely want to at least let people know, no, I love that. Put in your signature, put it on your invoice. Those are very interesting places that I'm definitely going to make that change right after this call. But it is this thing where we think asking for the referral is offensive. We think it's like an offensive ask. We think it's asking for something really personal, when actually mostly if you just let people know I'm open to referrals, they'll go, oh, I thought sending you a referral would be rude. I thought you don't want more clients. Because
Right.
as part of my sales process,
Yeah.
I'm very aloof, right? I do, because then people go, oh, wow, he must be so good because he's so aloof, right? Like you're so distant. Because I only take 3 clients a year. So I only need 3 leads to come in. Usually 5 people reach out about ghostwriting, on 3 fills out my year. And I found that if you act like a little bit, you turn up the dial a little bit on the attitude, people go, oh my gosh, he must be amazing because he's not that friendly. I say, that's what people want. That's who you want to work with as an artist. They go, I want to work with the writer who's a little bit has an attitude like, oh, I only write bestsellers. And you go, how do you know? Well, I haven't written a non-bestseller ad in the last 300 books. People hear that, they go, oh my gosh. So you create a little bit of that character, but then afterwards, people go, oh, if I send him a referral, he'll be so annoyed. So I do need to lower that second barrier once they've kind of come in the door. And then, you're kind of, people want to work with, it's like when people want to work with a rock star, you don't want the rock star wearing normal clothes, right? You want them to dress up in their fancy outfit. You want Kiss wearing the makeup at your birthday party. So there is that balance. And I think this is a very interesting place to be, to think it's not that you're begging for a referral. First phase is letting people know they're allowed to do referrals, because some people are worried, oh, if I send you too many customers, you're going to be annoyed. And I have
Man,
sent customers that are annoyed.
you couldn't have teed me up any better, Jonathan, for the art of the ask. Okay. Because here's the reality. People, you're right. They think all kinds of things that aren't necessarily true. And one of the things that they think is you're too busy and you don't want more business. Well, if that's not the case, you need to tell them. So in the art of the ask, it's a way to help everybody feel comfortable, for you to feel comfortable asking for referrals, and for your client or customer to feel comfortable hearing that ask. And it goes like this. There's 3 steps. Number 1 is setting the stage. Number 2 is listening for the referral triggers. And number 3 is ASK to GET. So let's unpack that. First, setting the stage. When you first have a new client or customer that decides to use your service, before you let them walk out the door, or in that initial client conversation where they've said they've decided to hire you and you've just walked through, great, here's what's going to happen next. Now, before you let them leave, you want to say, before you leave, would it be okay if I ask you for a favor? Now, most people, when you ask them for a favor, they're going to say one of 2 things, either absolutely or maybe tell me more, right? So maybe tell me more, Jonathan. Well, I get a lot of my business by referral, and we're really looking to bring on another 5 clients, 10 clients, whatever's true for your business, right? And because I work by referral, I'm able to keep my costs down because I don't spend a lot of money on marketing. So here's my request. Once I've wowed you with my service, would it be okay if I ask you for referrals down the road at a later date? Okay. What have you just done? You've set the stage by saying, I'm going to wow you with what I do. I'm going to blow you away. You're going to be impressed, excited, grateful for the service that I deliver to you. Okay. Now, once I've done that, would it be okay if I ask you for referrals at a later date? Are you putting them on the spot right now? Nope. Nope. You're basically doubling down on your service statement saying, I'm going to do a great job for you. And when I do, would it be okay if I ask for referrals? 100% of people will say yes to that. So that's step one, setting the stage. Now you're in phase two, listening for the referral triggers. And the referral triggers are essentially expressions of appreciation. It might be, wow, Jonathan, this looks so great. Or, man, I can't believe you made me sound like a genius, right? Whatever that expression of appreciation, it could be, thank you, man. You've helped me lose so much weight, make so much money, whatever that is for your business. That's the referral trigger. So once you hear that, now it's time to go into phase three, ASK to GET. And you want to say something like, I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that you love what we did. Remember when we first started working together, I told you I was going to wow you with our service, and I'm thrilled to hear that you're happy with the result that we've given you. So now you remember at the beginning, I said I would ask you for referrals at a later date. So now that you've experienced the power of what we do, now that you see the difference that it makes, we're looking to bring on a few clients that are facing the same challenge that you have, right? That you are. And I want to make them famous, rich, sexy, thin, whatever that benefit is, just like we did with you. So do you know any? And then it's really important that you specify exactly who you're looking for. Maybe you only work with business owners doing $5 to $10 million in revenue. Describe that perfect prospect, and you'll be amazed how many referrals that you get.
So do you do the hard ask where you're like, can you tell me 3 people right now? Because I've heard different versions of this. So I'm someone who's a big believer in farming. Like I'm all about positioning, which is like I just want to plant that seed. I get referrals a lot where I don't remember the person sending the referral. I have memory issues. I've just have some memory holes, and someone will call me and be like, oh, I loved working with you 3 years ago. I'm like, oh boy, I don't remember you at all. I have to go look in the files because I just have memory issues because
Sure,
I just don't
sure,
remember a lot of stuff. So
sure.
do you kind of do the seed planting thing, which is you let them know you're looking for referrals, or do you do the hard press and like, because I've seen the version where you're like, can you tell me 3 people that you think would be a good fit right now? And I kind of hate that one because it's so aggressive. But the farming one, because I've seen where people send a referral 3 years, 5 years, 6 years later. That's why I have just a steady flow, is because you plant the seed with excellent service, and then that wow is there, right? And they remember it because then they go, especially if you're in a unique business, like most people don't know 3 ghostwriters, right? Most people know 1 or 0. So it's not a common thing, but they might know 5 people in insurance or 5 people that sell cars. So it might be, you might need to be slightly more proactive. So what's the right way to kind of push yourself to the top of the referral hype, or kind of be in that position without being overly aggressive, without being like crossing the line and wherever that line is?
Well, in the art of the ask, you're seeding that in the very first conversation, right? You're not putting them on the spot so they don't feel uncomfortable right now. You're not saying right now, right? You're really saying, I'm going to wow you with the service. And then later on, if you ever meet somebody that's facing the same challenge and could use my services, I'd love to help them. Now,
Okay.
once you hear the referral trigger and you say, I'm so glad you feel that way, you can either say now or in the future. What's comfortable for them is in the future. If you ever hear of anyone that is looking to write a book and wants a great ghostwriter, I would love to do that for them, just like I did for you. So it's not always about now. You are planting the seeds always, right? So I think the way that you said it was great. And with the art of the ask, by asking up front and putting that into their mind, because most people never ask, and by setting that stage and saying, look, I'm going to wow you with my service. And if you ever run into somebody that needs my service that would be a fit for them, I'd love to help them. And it's really, here's the key. It's not about you. It's about them. By you being referable, you become the solution to other people's challenges. When you partner with other business owners and other professionals, they have clients coming to them, and those clients mention challenges that they have. You want to be the resource, the solution that they're able to give to solve their clients' challenges. When you do that, and when you pre-package yourself in a way where they can easily spread the word about you and your business, like maybe it's a book, right? For you, if you ghost write books for people, you could literally have somebody give a book that you've ghost written. And when they say, man, how did you write that book? They can say, let me let you in on a little secret. And then they introduce Jonathan Green, ladies and gentlemen, the man behind the scenes.
Yeah, there's this interesting thing that happens for me that's very specific to what I do, which is clients would do not want to do a referral while we're working on the project because there's this fear of one client at a time, which is fine. They're like, I don't want you to start with another client and then not finish my, like, there's that thing, right? So I always have to wait until the end, until it's actually finished and published, even then. And then they'll sometimes send in a whole bunch of people, like 3 or 4 referrals coming at once because they're like out of that phase because like, oh, I don't want Jonathan distracted. So there is this thing that's slightly unique to when you're a little bit more of a one-off provider that it puts it there. But what I like is that at the beginning saying, listen, I'm going to blow your mind. I'm going to wow you. And I'll ask for a referral later. It kind of puts two things in place for you, two motivators, which is the first is you have to do a really good job now because you said you would, right? And it kind of creates a motivation for you. And the second thing it does is it not only does it open the door for you to ask for referrals, it kind of puts a pressure on you because you said you were going to do it. So you actually, because that fear you have of asking for the referral, well, now there's a pressure on you because you said you were going to do it. So if you don't do it, that's even weirder because then it's going to make the person go, why didn't he ask me for referrals? Because he said he was going to. Doesn't like me. He thinks I have bad friends. Because we all have the client, we go, this person I definitely don't want to send him referrals because this client is not who I want to work with again, right? We every once in a while, and then so they'll actually think that unless you ask them for referrals. So it creates a very interesting pressure behind yourself to do a better job. And now they're going to talk about you and to actually ask for the referral later because their feelings will actually be hurt if you don't ask for the referral, right?
Yeah, huge, absolutely. And I think you've said it exactly right, right? If you have a service-based business where capacity is a concern, then people aren't going to want to refer you while you're in that state. And you have to understand that about your business, right? So you get that, Jonathan, and you understand you can plant the seeds at the beginning, but you don't want to ask until it's complete, till you've really delivered that wow experience to your clients and customers. And once you do, then they should be telling the world about you. And if you have an affiliate program or what I call referral rewards that you offer, you can say, look, not only am I thrilled that you got the result that you wanted, but how'd you like to add a side hustle to your business? Because I'm looking for promotional partners. I'm looking for people that have experienced my service firsthand, that know the difference that I make and will be out there scouting for business with me. And when you bring people to me, then I'll be happy to pay you or, whatever that is for you. Like we literally are doing vacation vouchers right now where we're giving somebody a 6-night stay at a Mexican resort. And those vouchers cost us about $40 each. But the person receiving it has 6 nights at a luxury resort paid for. So you can do things that don't cost you a lot of money, but have that wow experience for your referral partners as well.
Yeah, there's just this for me, it's like if someone sent me too many, it would be such an issue because I don't want to cross a certain scaling threshold. Like my wife and I, it's just such an interesting place to be. And we talk about like, should I go from 3 to 6? But like that's a huge conversation we have because it's would be a massive change to our lifestyle. Not in an, it would be a massive change income wise, which would be great, but also it's like a massive time change because
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into what I do and doing it excellently. So it is like that's the conversation we have, which is like, oh, should we go from 3 to 6 people a year, which is very different than most businesses. I know most businesses are like, yeah, we want 10 a month, 20 a month, 30 a month. So I have a unique situation, which is why the other challenges is like sometimes you think, oh, then this person will think the person who referred that me to them also got a reward, right? They start to, I worry about that thought, which is like, oh, did the last person get 10%? Like, and you sometimes, if you offer a reward that's too low, like it's better to ask someone to do something as a favor than to offer them like $1 an hour, right? Because then
Agreed.
once you put a transaction, like you have to be careful that if you offer is too low, so you have to offer something that's quite high. Or that will make it feel like, oh, it's actually a value, right? Because sometimes you're like, oh yeah, if you send me 1,000 customers, I'll give you a T-shirt. I'm like, well, all you've done is put a bad taste in my mouth, because I'm a very emotional person. Like something, like if I get upset by something, it hurts my feelings. Like I overreact. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, and that's one of the things that's like, I would rather you just give me the shirt, by the way. Like, let's be honest, I know what a shirt costs. It's like $3 for you to make it. And I'll send, if you give me a good feeling, I'll send the referrals. Like it's amazing how many people will send a ton of referrals if you're just nice to them. Like if you take them out to dinner, like I had one of my best bosses would just take me out to ice cream for our meetings. And I was like, I loved it. Like it was and it was, what's he paying? Like $4 an event. I'm not buying a giant thing of ice cream, but sometimes all it takes is just being kind to the person, just kind of giving them a good experience, and then exactly calibrating. Am I in a business where I need a massive scaling? Because if people get really excited by the referral, and I've had that before, they start sending a ton in. So you just have to kind of figure out what you want from your business, what you want from life. And it's not my main business. It's just a side of my business, because sometimes you just like getting paid up front. Like sometimes you just love getting paid in advance for something. It's a great feeling, or a huge wire transfer feels so good. But it's that balance. And there's this fear though, that if I say, oh, I reward my referrals, then they're going to think, oh, that's why someone referred me to me. And that it can put a negative spin on, especially because there are some negative connotations with phrases like affiliate marketing, because of like cryptocurrency and casino affiliate marketing, which is a completely different world, but they happen to use the same terms. So how can someone who goes, yeah, I want to ask for the referral and I do want to reward people, but I don't want to under reward them to the point where they're like annoyed, and I don't want to over reward them to the point where it actually affects my business or the quality of the service. So how can someone basically calibrate?
Yeah, well, I think first it's important to understand that about half of people feel comfortable being paid or being incentivized for referring. The other half don't want money or prizes or any kind of rewards you're going to give them. And it really comes down to personality styles, right? So you just need to understand that when you're talking to people. And the reality is you're going to customize your conversations based on the person that you're talking to, and just get a sense for it, right? Just to help understand. And as far as creating what the actual reward is, it differs based on the industry that you're in. Some industries, they can't give a reward at all. But then there's industries like real estate where if you're a realtor and you refer a client to another realtor in a different state, you're actually going to get paid 25% of that realtor's income, their commission that they earn. That's standard practice in their industry. So you just have to be thoughtful, considerate, and then create something that's appropriate, applicable, and enticing for your industry.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned half of people don't want to receive anything, because there are people who they think money solely is it. And in a way it does. Like whenever I see someone reviewing a product, they go, I'm an affiliate, but it doesn't affect my review. It's like, but it's the reason you made the video. Like they sent me a free thing, but it doesn't affect my review. Yes, it did. It's impossible for it not to, right? Every study on that shows that when you get free stuff, it changes how you feel about people. You're way more likely to do a positive review over something free, because you know what I mean? Even if you're trying to control yourself. So there is a purity that a lot of people think. And I guess it's a question of it's industry, or a question if you need to do it. Like I
Right.
think just opening the door for most people, just opening the door as phase one is saying, letting people know, yeah, I love referrals. It allows me to meet people because you're a great customer. I want to meet people like you. It opens up such a great window that maybe you just do that first, and before you start going, I have to build a really complicated rewards program and a system to where, because for many people it sullies it, because they go, I don't want to get into the paid for referral business, because then it is an ethical question for
Sure.
someone. And it's like, let's just
Sure.
remove that. This is, unless the only reason, I mean, as an affiliate, my job is to not refer things. A lot of people think, oh, your job is to refer. Like, no, my job is to not refer things that don't work. My job is to actually go
Right.
through so many requests, right? And just say no, no, no. And to be able to tell what's bad when my customers wouldn't be able to tell. Some things have a great sales page, but I know the product doesn't work or there's a piece missing.
Right.
And that's really what my job is. And for someone who doesn't do it that much, they don't see it that way. They go, oh, you're just trying to pay me to refer your thing. And so I actually think, especially if you're starting out, it's easier to start out without doing that system. Most people respond to that. I refer people all the time. Sometimes I do because of what I do. I'll ask for be like, oh, do you do a referral fee? Do you do a get? Because I want to know,
Yeah.
because that's my business. But most people aren't me, right? Most people don't do that. Of all the people who've ever sent me, one person's asked about it, right? And
Yeah.
of course, we work something out because that's their business model. So it's not very often that it makes a difference. People go, well, you did an amazing job for me, but I'm not going to tell anyone unless you pay me for it. Like, that's not how people think. So I think that people who are like trying to figure it out, unless it's an industry standard, and then, you know, for certain things, there are industry standards for my industry as well. For a certain type of referral, the standard is 10 or 20%, depending exactly on the structure of it, what they're recommending to you and bringing to you, that you do have to do that part. But for some things, for people that aren't in my industry, that are just a happy customer, like,
They don't
they
need
don't,
that. Jonathan,
yeah.
the reality is it depends on your industry, right? For somebody like you that's only taking on 3 clients a year, a referral reward system isn't needed and doesn't make sense, right? For people that are in a service-based business, may not make sense. I run a technology platform. I run HOA.com. We have a 2-tier affiliate plan, right? So we pay 20% of anything that somebody pays into us directly from your referral. And then we also have a second tier, 10%. The reason we do that is because somebody will introduce us to an influencer or an enterprise, and then that company is going to earn 20% off activating their community. But the person who brought that opportunity gets 10%. Case in point, Wednesday, I have 2 different meetings with 2 different CEOs. One of them is a company that everyone listening already knows the name of, so I'm not going to say it, but they have 4.5 million clients, customers, paying members that pay them anywhere from $30 to $100 per month, right? So with them, offering them a 2-tier program means that their people are going to either make or save, because sometimes instead of paying that first tier, we'll offer it as a savings to the company. Like the other meeting is a national franchisor. And so they're going to earn 20%, or I'm going to give the guy the option. You can either earn 20%, or I'll give all of your franchisees a 20% discount, whichever you choose. However, that franchisor is still going to earn 10% as those franchisees then activate their referral networks and bring people into our company. So it really depends on the situation. I come from a different perspective because with HOA.com, there's 8 million professionals who serve homeowners in the United States alone. So that's our target market. It's a big market, and we want referral champions out there scouting for clients for us.
Yeah. So that's exactly it, is that in different sectors of my business, like, absolutely, there's an expectation, there's a standardness of it, but for knowing what that is important. You know your industry, and you know some type of customers I know, they definitely expect a referral commission. Some people I work with, and I make sure they're getting referral commission because they're incentivized to bring me more good projects. So it's very interesting to see that there's different parts of the business. So it's like, yeah, sometimes, especially for a scale business or a large business, absolutely, it makes sense at large scale. And then for people that are figuring out, because a lot of people, a lot of my listeners are like in the coaching space, and they're like, well, it feels a little bit dirty. But the other thing I think about, I often say this to people, because a lot of people, like, they're like, oh, I don't want to do paid advertising, this and that. I'm like, well, what if you discover the cure for something, and shouldn't you tell everyone? Like, why would you keep that a secret? If your product is really
Right.
good, you need to get the word out there, because, like, if you cure something, you have an obligation to spread the word, right? You're actually a monster if you keep it a secret. Like, oh yeah, I cured that disease, I just didn't tell anyone. You what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that would be such a shocking thing. So we sometimes have to remember that if you're good at what you do, and this is so important, then you should tell everyone. If your product is good, if you believe in your product, and whatever the product is, that's the thing. When people say sales is really hard, I'm like, yeah, it's hard if the product is not good. If the product is good, it's so much easier. Like, whenever you watch one of those infomercials, every once in a while there's one that you're like, oh yeah, that seems awesome, because it just works, and you can know those are the ones that do really, really well, right? And sometimes it's like they have to convince you that you have the problem. Like, how many juicers do I need to own? So it's these two
Right.
different ends of the spectrum. But if the product is great, if you really think what you do is good, because every once in a while, like I know this happens, it happens to me. Sometimes you're working on a project with someone, and my job as a writer is to make people likable. That's the most important thing. And a lot of people who are very successful are unlikable. The reason they're successful is because they're not very personal, right? They're very direct. They're very good running an organization, but they don't make a lot of friends because that's not what your job is, right? Your job as a CEO is to direct things, not to be friends with everyone on the ship. The captain's friends with no one. Every once in a while, I'll get to someone and we'll get to that moment where I'm like, I ask the perfect question. I find that moment. I go, this is going to be what the whole book is about, because now everyone's going to love you because it all makes sense. It all comes together. And you have that moment where you just remember, oh yeah, I'm really good at this. It doesn't matter how many of my competitors are out there, how many other people they talk to. Like, that's the thing that I can do that other people don't find. I find that thing that's the magic moment. And when you have those moments, you have to remember, this is why I want to work with as many people as possible, right? Because other people aren't as good as me, because I think I can really make a difference. So the more you believe in yourself, the more it kind of is all connected. It's hard to ask for a referral when you think you didn't do a very good job. For
Well,
sure.
and that's
That's
why
what
you want to listen for that expression of appreciation. When you hear that referral trigger, that's the perfect time to ask for a referral, because that person is just giving you that feedback that they like what you do. But I like
yeah.
the fact that you brought up business coaching. And I think this strategy actually applies to your business as well. We work with a lot of business coaches, and what they find is that they have clients that need a whole suite of services on a regular basis. What we do in our dental coaching and consulting company is we look to be the solution hub. There's a lot of people out there that have this mindset that sales is bad or icky or wrong, and I don't want to do that. So we shift people's mindset from sales to service. If you're just focusing on serving the client's needs and helping them get what they need and want, then it's not sales, it's just service, right? So part of that is a mindset shift. However, in a business like a business coach, they have a suite of services to help people. They typically will have an internet marketing team that they're working with. They'll have accountants and financial people. They'll have people that are operational specialists. So different contractors, different companies, different referral partners that provide the suite of services that your clients and customers need. And the same thing, I think, is true for you. Right now, it sounds like you have a lot of people coming to you for a lot of different things. And I imagine you probably have a group of people and companies that you've vetted, that you're confident in their excellence and expertise, that you can refer confidently to your clients so that they get the help that they need, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Like, for example, the cover is so important it's more important than the actual book, which is hard to say as a professional writer, but people won't read the book if they hate the cover. They won't even look inside. So it doesn't matter. They do judge every book by its cover. That quote is from the 1800s, when the cover of every book was just blank leather. Like, of course, don't judge a book by its cover, because all the covers are blank. Now the covers are not blank. It's a different world, but it's exactly that. People want a clean recommendation. I'll give you an example. Is like, if someone says to me, hey, Jonathan, what's the best editing software? The worst thing I could say is, well, let me tell you about the top three. You choose what's right for you. People hate that, right? It's like, no, don't give me a riddle, right? I don't want to solve a riddle. I just give me the answer, because that's what I really want, is your expertise. And we do forget that people sometimes just want the solution. Like, one thing that's interesting, my wife and I have this weird problem that when we go to a restaurant, about 90% of the time, when the meal is done and we're looking to pay, we can't find the waiter. They're attentive and they're crushing it until that time. And this is not just where we live. This is when we travel all over the world together, and we're with the kids, not with the kids. It doesn't matter. And it's like, why is that when you leave? As a waiter, I would think that's your favorite part. I always think my favorite part of every business is always the money. It's always for me, the most fun part is when someone pays me. I love that part. But they're always not there for that. Or people make it really hard to pay. I was working on a training and I was looking at the Chamber of Commerce where I used to live. To join the Chamber of Commerce, you have to fill in a really long survey. Then you have to call the person. They don't even have a pay link on their website. I was like, are you guys trying to go out of business? Like, what is happening here? Like, what if you just made it easy for people to give you money? And every once in a while, I run into a business that's still living like really long time ago. They make it really hard to give them money. I'm like, yeah, that's why you don't have any customers, because you won't let them pay you. Stop putting the wall up there. That's the worst place to put it, because so busy thinking about, I don't want to ask for the sale, that we forget, just let people buy what they want. When I know what I want and I figure out what I want, I go for it. And I want to kind of accomplish that. But sometimes we're so busy thinking about ourselves, we forget how we are when we're shopping. Another example of this is that product creators always think it needs to be as big as possible. It needs to be 75 hours of content. And when someone buys it, they go, oh, 75 hours. It's taking me forever to go through this. I want just 2 hours. Like, I want small. We value the exact opposite thing. Like, brevity has this huge value in and of itself that I'm always struggling against. So very good to remember that the client experience is that they have to buy these other things. They have to do these other things. And it's better, not just because you're incentivized, but it's better for them to work with people because I have had people come to me, then they go to someone that I don't recommend, and they have a really, really bad experience. And then they blame me. And I'm like, I didn't refer that. I got a really mean email about 3 months ago where someone was like, your product doesn't work. Here's a screenshot of this. It's a total nightmare. And I was like, yeah, that's someone else's website that you're logged into. This is not my product. Like, but I'm glad it wasn't. But I was like, but they still wanted a refund of my thing. I was like, you can't do that. You can't send a refund,
Right.
a picture of product B and complain about product A. That's not cool.
Yeah.
But it's
Agreed.
like, you want to remember the way people engage and what people look for. And most people, like I said, I had to learn that lesson. Oh, most people read more than one book on business. Most people read more than one book. Most people read like dozens of books, whatever they're interested, right? Most people buy multiple courses. Most people who succeed in online business, it's their sixth or seventh purchase that's really the winner. They go through a couple, they go, oh, this is right for me, this isn't right for me, this idea is not working, and then they find the winner with a little bit of perseverance. That's kind of the normal curve. So sometimes we're so afraid to mention something that would actually help the person. So if you switch to that mindset, I usually talk about with sales is the diagnosis solution problem. Let me figure out what's wrong with your business. And then, because sometimes I am not the right person for everyone. I am not the right ghostwriter for
Okay.
every person. Like, one of my clients right now has an abrasive personality. And I was telling her last week, I was like, I don't think we could ever be friends. But like, I like writing in her style because she has a machine gun way of talking. She's like, most people find me annoying. I'm like, yeah, but I get to be you. When I'm writing someone's book, I'm playing that character. It's like, so sometimes the client no one wants to work with is like perfect for me because I enjoy being that person. That's what ghostwriting really is for me. So it is to remember the customer experience, and that your job is like, trying to sell is only hard when you don't believe in the product or when you aren't actually helping the person or you don't think it's worth the price. And those are hurdles that a lot of people hit early on in their business. Like, oh, what should I charge my first client? Was way too low. Now I regret it. Everyone, right? We undercharge the first client because we're figuring it out. And we're
Yep.
so afraid to ask what we're worth. This is kind of the last thing I want to bring up, which is that when you charge more, you have more breathing room to do a good job. So when I was much, much lower, when I charge about 1% of what I do now, I'm constantly chasing new clients. I need a new project every single week, which means I couldn't focus on you 100% because I also have to focus on the sales. So part of the reason I charge a premium price now is like, I don't have to think about anything else because I'm working with you. Because there's a payment at the beginning, there's a payment in the middle, and there's a payment at the end. Those three things are in place. It means that I know that payment at the end is in front of me. That helps me. That's why I never get anyone to pay 100% up front. I leave it in that structure in place because I know how I motivate. Knowing that there's a payment there allows me to know, oh, I don't have to chase the next client until this project finishes. It lets me stay in the zone for you because sometimes, and this is why I don't negotiate with everyone. One of the things I never do is negotiate with surgeons. Like, I know people who do. I have a lot of friends who do, by the way. And I go, listen, the last thing I want a surgeon thinking while they're in me or one of my kids is like, man, I can't believe that guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's a time and a place to get someone who's a little
Yeah.
bit annoyed with you, but it's like,
Right.
surgeons I don't do. Like, just even if they're overcharging me, someone's like, oh, you could have gotten a better deal. I'm like, it's such a risky time to like play with someone, right? And maybe they weren't, maybe they weren't. And that's one of my policies. But most of the time, yeah, you can create, like, it's okay to charge a large amount of money because it actually lets you do a better job for them because it means you're not searching for the next client. So it's not just about what you charge, it's also about what you can deliver for that. It's like, yeah, I can give you more of my attention because I'm not worried about the next client. I can give you a better service. I can bring in outside experts if I have to because there's enough money in there for me to do those things. So we sometimes forget that there's a value to actually the higher price lets you do a lot of other things, right? If you're a business coach, you can bring in one of your friends and you just pay their fee to do like a one-off session because you have that buffer in there. So there's a lot of those things in place. So I think this has been a really cool session. You've given me some cool ideas, which I'm always looking for. You have a really amazing journey. Can you tell people where's the best place to find you? I know you've written a book, which is great. I love that it's got so many 5 stars. I always look for that because a lot of people tell me about their book and it's a 2-star book.
Yeah.
Really tell me exactly where you want people to come find you and get to spend more time with you. What's the best place for them to go to?
Yeah, best place is brandonbarnum.com. There you can find out about HOA.com, Raving Referrals. You can take the referral score quiz, and it'll take you less than 2 minutes, and you can actually find out how you score on the referral top 10 best practices. And you can take your bank code, which is a personality system. So go to brandonbarnum.com. That's got everything all at once. Last thing I want to say, Jonathan, is my mentor is Mark Victor Hansen, Chicken Soup for the Soul. As you know, probably he's like the #1 top-selling nonfiction author in the world. He's sold over 600 million books. And when I wrote Raving Referrals, he said, don't write a book, build a brand. And so in that, what we did is we've created a series. So the second book, I told you I have a dental consulting company, Raving Referrals for Dentists. The third book comes out in 2 weeks, and it's Raving Referrals for Mortgage Pros. So we're basically taking the same content and we're customizing it for each different audience, each industry, each niche, right? Grow rich in a niche. So one thing I just want to leave your guests, your audience with is focus as closely as you can on one specific type of person so that you can really be the undisputed expert in that industry. Now, what I'm doing is I'm partnering with those undisputed experts in those different industries and getting them to be the co-author so they're the champion taking that book out to their communities. And in doing so, we're attracting all of those different verticals and industries into predominantly HOA.com. That's really the goal here, is to find the right people that want to serve homeowners so that we can revolutionize homeowner associations and change the way that communities connect.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Another amazing episode of the Serve to Master podcast. I know my audience is going to appreciate everyone. So great to have Brandon Barnum here. Learn a lot about referrals that should help every single one of your businesses. This is definitely one of our can't miss episodes. So thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jonathan.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Artificial Intelligence Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. We'll be back next Monday with more tips and tactics on how to leverage AI to escape that rat race. Head over to artificialintelligencepod.com now to see past episodes, leave a review, and check out all of our socials.